a few words about Duncan McDonald, I was thinking about how I would do it. And what I did is I was comparing myself to Duncan McDonald. Duncan Catherine McDonald and myself. We both came to Waxhaw in our 40s. Duncan was 43 and I was 41. Duncan came in 1888 and I came in 1999. We both were merchants. Duncan ran a general store and I worked for a Lowe's Home Improvement warehouse. We both were public servants. Duncan was first postmaster of Waxhaw for 9 years and I was elected to the Board of Commissioners in 2013. We both have 6 in our height. Duncan was 5'6" and 3/4 and I'm 6'6". Well, maybe a little difference there. We both have brown hair. And what was the most unique thing was that we both have hazel eyes. Hazel eyes is very recessive trait. There's only less than 5% of America have hazel eyes. And I guess that's about all we have in common. Duncan Catherine McDonald was born on May 8, 1845 in Moore County in Carthage. His father was Donald McDonald. His mother was Catherine Sinclair McDonald. She died giving him birth. That's why he got the middle name Catherine. That was his mother's name. His first name was his mother's father's name and his mother's brother's name. So he had an uncle named Duncan and he had a grandfather that was Duncan. His father was a subsistence farmer. He just grew food to live on. He had 2 older sisters and he had 2 older brothers. His first oldest sister was Kristen McDonald and the next sister was Margaret Jane McDonald. He had an older brother, Daniel Patrick McDonald, and a brother, Murdoch McSweeney McDonald. Like I said, his mother died at birth, so his grandparents, the Sinclairs, took him in. When the Civil War broke out, he lied and told him that he was 16, he was 15 actually. He was assigned to the North Carolina 35th Regiment. 130 men. They were called the Scots Riflemen. They were sharpshooters. And at the Battle of New Bern, North Carolina, he took a cannonball in the calf muscle. He was discharged out of the Army at September 17, 1861, where he went back to Carthage and recuperated so he could walk. In 1864, he re-enlisted and was put back in the same regiment, and which was unique because it was everyone basically from the town of Carthage, North Carolina, all the men. His uncle, James Duncan Sinclair, was his colonel, so that was his commanding chief. When he went back, he went to the Battle of St. Petersburg in Virginia, where his whole regiment got captured and they were put in Elmira prison in New York. And from there, after the war, he enlisted in the Union Army when, at that time, they called it Buffalo City, New York, which was Buffalo, New York, where he went out to Camp Arbuckle, Oklahoma, where Fort Sill stands now, and he guarded Cheyenne Trail. He learned about what happens when a train comes through town and builds a town. He learned that the merchants in town were the richest people in town. So after he had 8 years guarding the Cheyenne Trail, moving wagon trains to California, he left the Union Army and went back to his hometown of Carthage. He worked at a mercantile. he learned that there was a train coming to town to Waxhaw, North Carolina. He said, now's my chance. So he caught one of the first trains to Waxhaw. He got off at the depot, which is basically on the corner of Church Street and South Main Street, where it stands now. He walked up the hill, basically where the Masons building stands now. There was a tree there at the time. There was nothing on, they call it North Front Street, there was nothing there at the time. He hung his coat and his hat on the tree and said, this is where I build my mercantile. Sure enough, he sure did. He built that mercantile. He lived upstairs in the mercantile where he built this home. So he had a lot in common. He was also the very first postmaster in Waxhaw, in the mercantile. So that's a lot about Duncan. Now I was supposed to talk about the restoration project of the house. What we did to the house. We did a lot of stuff to this house. It was in pretty sad shape. It was one of the most revealed properties in Waxhaw, but it was in the worst shape of any property in Waxhaw. It should have been condemned. First of all, we took 2 trees down in the backyard because we were afraid it would fall on the house. They were in bad shape. We deconstructed the front porch and the side porch. We took down the fireplace inside what we call the front left room and the kitchen now, and it's called the cotton room and kitchen. We took down that fireplace, and then we lifted the house 6 feet off the ground so that we could put a footer underneath it, a pier system underneath it, so we'd have to stabilize the house for years to come. We had the windows taken out. We had them re-squared up. They went to Greensboro, had them reglazed. They put hand-poured glass back in them so that they would actually operate like they were brand new. They are the original windows, we just had them fixed. We tore out the whole floor system. We took the floorboards out, we saved them. We took all the framing out of the floor system. We put a 100-pound floor system. That's 2.5 times as strong as the floor in your house. We rebuilt all 3 fireplaces, but we saved the bricks from the original fireplace and we put them on the hearths. We took off the roof, the metal on the roof, and put plywood on top of the rafters. We squared it up, put plywood on top of the rafters. Then we put titanium overlay on top of that, which that by itself is guaranteed not to leak for 6 months. Then we put the metal roof back on it, similar to what it had. We rebuilt the front porch and the side porch. We reinstalled the windows. We put new exterior doors on the house because the house sat so out of square and we couldn't reuse the doors because they've been cut so many times. We really couldn't reuse the doors, but we put the same type of panel design back in the doors. We rewired the whole house. We installed a new bathroom in the house, which is ADA approved. We installed a new kitchen in the house. We replaced all the damaged wood siding on the house. We scraped and burned and sanded every piece of siding on this house so the paint would stick. We fully primed the house all the way. Then we put 2 coats of finished paint on the house. We replaced all the damaged wood on the inside, and then we did the same thing as we did to the outside of the house. We scraped, we sanded, we burned whatever we could do to get the wood to look nice, and then we put a coat of primer on it, and then we painted it. We reinstalled the floors, had them sanded and varnished and stained. We installed a high-efficiency gas furnace, and now this house is the first time it ever had air conditioning, including the window air conditioning. So we've noticed that some of the wood is shrinking a little bit because it's being dehumidified, because it's not used to having less humidity. It was like a barn in here. put insulation in the house. We put high efficiency closed cell foam in the floor so critters can't come up through the floor. We put high density cellulose in the walls. We had it blown in, and then we blew in fiberglass, loose fiberglass insulation in that. We installed a security system in the house because we're going to have some valuable items in this house and we want to protect our assets. We also had the IT put in the house. We actually ran a cable from a water tank shed to the house so that we could have our servers from our town used in the house and so forth. We went out and bought a switchboard that matches the switchboard that we had originally in the town. We added an ADA ramp in the house so that it's accessible for all people. We installed all new doors and trim inside the house. And then Lambeth Marshall did the design of the landscaping. She donated most of the plants, and the Public Works Department did all of it. They did rough work. It's just beautiful. I appreciate you coming today. Thank you for your time.
How many of you remember Waxhaw, the farmers market's open down here. How many of you remember Waxhaw's Farmers Market on wheels, known as Henry Spencer? Yeah, some of you do. Sort of like the Peach Lady, except he didn't sit in one spot. He went from house to house with a truck full of every kind of vegetable you could think of. I remember him driving up here, and I want to tell you, the drive came right there. Their driveway came there, went all the way around the house and came out on the other side. And they parked their cars back there at the back door. So Henry Spencer would come up to the back door, and Ruth would go out, Donnie's mama would go out and see if she needed some vegetables. And people knew when he was coming. They knew he'd be probably by the house on Tuesday or whatever, and that he would be here. But we didn't have farmers markets like we have it today. In closing, there have been others who have lived here over the years, many others who operated businesses here. I wish we could cover them all. They all have stories to tell, and that'd all be interesting too. Thank you.
Name is Frank Matera. My connection to Waxhaw is that when I first moved to the area, I was looking for property in Waxhaw. At that time, Waxhaw was a real sleepy town. Couldn't even get information on the property I wanted. Came to the Spring Festival and got asked to be part of WBA, and the rest is history.
We have also asked Dr. Edwin Elam to step forward to speak to you about families that we are welcoming into this home, starting with pictures. It is our sincere hope that the footprint of their legacy will grow as we endeavor to learn more and more about their history and contributions to Waxhaw. Dr. Elam.
Good afternoon. Protocol has already been established and that's been read by leadership. So we'd just like to share with you with the theme that was talked about the journey. That seems to have been a word that has come from at least 3 of the presenters this morning, so we want to use that word as well. In the 1940s, the land that was purchased that connects this, there's a person, when Natalie talked about reunion, a daughter from that family is in this audience even here today, where the land that was purchased that we actually live on now. But I wanted to also share with you, when I first walked through the McDonald house, the first thing I did was pick up the rotary phone and I called Vivi. I said, Vivi, I'm calling you from a rotary phone. She said, have you lost your mind? Also, Ms. Blythe just spoke, the bricks that were actually on your home are the bricks that are now on our home. Those bricks were actually purchased by the individual, Mr. Roscoe Miller of Miller Drive. McDonald is a very, very awesome name. We all grew up with it, singing about the little animals, and that piece of real estate that we all wished ourselves into. McDonald's is also a facility that actually we all wish we probably had some of the stock from it as well. But the Duncan McDonald house is probably for all of us that will pay us the greatest dividends here in Waxhaw. Because when Commissioner Fitzgerald asked me to say a few words, the East Side was also a part of this history. We actually have a couch that we donated, that we bought from an antique shop that they didn't know exactly what they had. When I lifted it, I did understand what we did have. I checked it out. I thought it was from the 1950s. Another common number that has been thrown out here today is the 1940s. The consultants that they had on this house looked at the couch after I sent them a picture, and they said, no, that couch is 1940s. So our family donated the couch for as long as this house is here, that it can stay in rotation for whatever other exhibits it might have. And we felt it not robbery. When you talk to Commissioner Fitzgerald and the passion that he has had for taking the leadership for this project for the commission and the mayor, you couldn't really say no. And it was such a musty green when he showed the colors for what the house would have on the interior. I said, I think I have a couch that was from that particular period. So we actually donated that couch, and we thank you for it. It has been reupholstered, but it is 1940s. We also want you to know that the connection, the men in this community, from our community on the east side, were on Blythe Mill and to the right, all the way down to Southbrook. The women, mostly in our community, were on Massey Hill, which was Washington Street. And what the men did, they came down Miller Drive and the pasture there, connected, married those women, and those are the families that actually, when Commissioner Fitzgerald talked about this home, that he wanted it to be a home for all people, and that he wanted everybody to treat everybody nice, because this was going to be the community's home. So we were walking last night and we had a little ice cream, and he said something profound on that journey. And he said that in Waxhaw, we want to treat everybody nice. He said whether they're business people, homeowners, we want to treat everybody nice. And if anybody acts up, we're going to take them down to the jail, chief, and we still want to treat them nice. And I thought that was so profound from such a leader of this particular community. He kept the common theme of being nice. And we also met new friends along the way in putting this project together and helping to do our part. Two of them that I invited to come this morning, I'd just like to ask them to stand. James and Bobby Robinson, who live in the Hermitage area. We just met going forth back. Give my hand. They live in the Hermitage community, and as we've been eating at the various restaurants and everything, these were some persons who we just shared what was going on in town and invited them, and they showed up here again today. So we thank you and we welcome you here today as well. As I close with these remarks, I'd just like to leave the challenge. Walt Whitman wrote a poem called The Challenge. And it's very apropos for this type of event, and as we go forward in treating everyone nice and helping Waxhaw to become to its fullest potential from the north, the south, the east, and the west. And it goes something like this. Blessed is the man or woman who in their life can find a purpose to fill their goals and dreams to fill their minds. You see, the world is filled with little men and women content with where they are, not knowing the joy success can bring and no will to go that far. Yet in this world there is a need for men and women, the same men and women, to rise above the average life by simply giving up their best. Would you be one who would dare to try when challenged by the task? Or is that simply too much to ask? This is your day, this is our day, with great purposes to achieve. Accept the challenges of your goals, Waxhaw, and in ourselves believe. You'll be proud of what you've done, and at the close of day, we will all look back on all these contributions content that we all were here this day.
That's awesome. Thank you, Dr. Elam.
My wife and I'm Lynn Haynes, and my wife Sylvia and I moved to Waxhaw in December of 1994. When we bought a house here, the realtor said, "Why would you want to live in Waxhaw? It is so far from Charlotte." And I said, "I have a purpose for going to Charlotte, but Charlotte will be moving out here toward Waxhaw." And it has, and many of the Charlotte people come to Waxhaw to eat and to enjoy the July 4th parade and all the other activities that Waxhaw puts on. So since 1994, Waxhaw has welcomed us. We've been very pleased to be a part of the city and enjoyed seeing the city grow. What a day in history for Waxhaw of June 18th, 2016. And I've been proud to be here to see it and be a part of it. Thank you.
As you have heard, Duncan McDonald left a legacy. But this home, that he probably never dreamed possible. This structure has meant so much to so many, from private residence to post office to telephone exchange to surf shop, as we mentioned earlier, to family business. This has been a special place. In honor of Duncan McDonald's heritage, we would like to make a special presentation to his great-nephew and descendant, Mr. Lynn Hipp. Mr. Hipp, would you please come forward? And Mayor Maher, would you please come forward?
So it's my distinct pleasure to award a resolution of appreciation for Duncan C. McDonald. Whereas the Board of the Town of Waxhaw, North Carolina desires to acknowledge and express appreciation to Duncan C. McDonald for his important role in Waxhaw history. And whereas Duncan C. McDonald is believed to have been the first man to establish a residence and business within the town limits of Waxhaw, with stories having been told that he hung his coat on a tree and began clearing a place where he would build a store after moving from Wark County in 1988. And whereas Duncan C. McDonald was the town's first postmaster, having held this office for 9 years, and whereas Duncan C. McDonald built a home that later housed the town's first switchboard, became a residence for additional families, showcased local merchants, and will now become a public facility that serves the town citizens as a source of recreation, information, historic preservation, local culture, and center for welcome. And now therefore be it resolved that the town board, in appreciation for the legacy resulting from Duncan C. McDonald's home and its use throughout the whole town of Waxhaw history, does declare June 18, 2016 as Duncan C. McDonald Day in the town of Waxhaw. In witness whereof, I, Stephen Maher, Mayor of the town of Waxhaw, have hereunto caused the seal of the town of Waxhaw to be affixed to this resolution of appreciation today.
First, my name is Donnie Helms. That's what everybody, my name's Donald, but everybody calls me Donnie as long as I've been a little old boy. We used to live here in this house, and our spigot was on the back porch. We didn't have running water in the house or anything, so the spigot was back there, and we got in a little water fight out here one day, and I was running back up on the porch, get me a glass of water, run back out there and throw it on somebody, get them wet, and I stepped up on the step, slipped, fell, had a glass in my hand and busted the glass, and got a piece of glass in my arm, cut my arm. So I had to go to Dr. Daly, was a doctor at that time, right over here, but just building right on the front street out here. So I went over there and he put a couple of stitches in it and everything. A year later, that thing got to bother me. I had to go back over there and he cut that thing open, a piece of glass in there for a year. Put some more stitches in there and got it out, set it up. But we've had a good time in this old house a long time ago. I lived here till I went to service. I went into service in '56, got out in 1959, and We didn't live here then after that. But glad to see what they've done to the house. It's beautiful. Wish we'd had the air conditioning in the bathroom in here then when we lived here. But it's nice. And I hope y'all enjoy it. Thank you.
And now it is our pleasure to introduce Miss Gladys Card, who will be speaking to you today about today's second honoree, Dr. Harry Y. Gamble. Dr. Harry Y. Gamble has a lot of fans in the audience today. Miss Gladys, will you please come forward?
Honorable Mayor Mocker, Waxhaw Commissioners, Waxhaw Town staff, honored guests of the Gamble family, the McDonald family, and the Rodman family. The following persons were appointed to serve on a committee to prepare an appropriate memorial for Dr. Harry Y. Gamble. Mayor Mocker, Haskell Erble, Zane Erble, Don Carr, Patsy McGee, Gay Diller, Mary Alice Wilson, Mary Lou Gamble, and Gladys Carr. We, the committee, do sincerely thank the town of Waxhaw for providing a location and for the assurance that this day would arrive. Those of us who knew Harry well often commented, when he spoke, we thought we heard the voice of God. Waxhaw's esteemed, self-appointed historian, Dr. Harry Y. Gamble, if he were still with us, would have been 100 years old yesterday. He was born June 17, 1916, and died March 24, 2005. What a privilege for me to remind you how indebted we are to this devoted native son of Waxhaw, the youngest of 10 children of James Alexander Gamble and Martha, Miss Maddie Yandel Gamble. After attending Waxhaw Public Schools, where he was not only a good student, but an outstanding athlete as well, he graduated from Wake Forest College and then from Southern Baptist Theological Seminary. He was ordained to the ministry in the old King Street Baptist Church of Waxhaw. He went on to serve as pastor of First Baptist Church in Statesville, 1940 until 1946. From 1946 until 1978, he served Calvary Baptist Church in Roanoke, Virginia. For his religious and civic work, he was awarded a Doctor of Ministry degree by the University of Richmond in 1972. Harry Gamble loved the town of Waxhaw and Union County. He celebrated this area with its history in poetry, drama, and story, and traced its people's genealogies. He had the vision for an outdoor drama depicting the history of the Waxhaws and the story of Andrew Jackson. He inspired Dare Steele to write the script and Eleanor Niven McLaughlin to compose the music. Many of you participated in the production of Listen and Remember for over 30 years. The first production was presented on Main Street just behind where we are standing. He single-handedly organized the Waxhaw's Historical Festival and Drama Association, which managed the production as a tax-exempt foundation. All this excitement began in the 1960s. Another of Harry's major endeavors was to plan the centennial celebration for the town of Waxhaw, which transpired in the year 1989. Do you also remember that was the year we had a visit from Hugo? The opening ceremony in March of 1989 featured our former North Carolina Governor, James B. Hunt, whom you probably remember pushed the establishment of the Museum of the Waxhaws, a memorial to Andrew Jackson. Harry served on the first board of directors for the museum. Harry spent every August in Waxhaw, bringing his family, his wife, Frances Niven Gamble, a Waxhaw native, and their children, Harry Jr. and Angela. His only sister, Mamie Gamble Knox, lived in the family home on Providence Street, and the Gambles gathered on her porch to smoke cigarettes, tell stories, and create history. We are so very pleased to have Harry's daughter, Angela. Angela, would you stand, please, dear? And her husband, Dominic Maresco. Harry Jr. was unable to attend due to pressing responsibilities, but he wrote of his father, and I quote, "A man of genial and generous spirit. He seemed to know everybody. He took a sincere interest in all whom he ever met, and he thought that everybody was important. Although he traveled widely and lived afar, he returned to Waxhaw as often as possible, believing there was no finer place, no finer people anywhere else." End of quote. Do take time to view his portrait inside the dining area of the McDonald House. Some of his poems, maps, and writings are on display. For so long, we who love Waxhaw, as did Harry, should have said a sincere thank you to this gentleman of letters. We are deeply indebted to Paul Fitzgerald, to Natalie Jackson, Kirk White, Warren Wood, and many others at Waxhaw Town Hall who shared our desire to remember our native son in a permanent fashion. Angela, please express to your mother, whom we so wanted to be here today, express to her our love and appreciation for her concern and support through the years as Harry wrote, researched, and gave so unselfishly to his hometown, Waxhaw. Please join me in expressing to his children and family, and I'd love for all the cousins and relatives to stand, please. Would you? Our heartfelt gratitude to the Gamble family.
All right, my name is Edwin Elam. I live on Miller Drive with Vivi Miller, and we came back to Waxhaw in 2014 to actually develop the property that had been in the family since the 1940s. The east side of Waxhaw is no longer the east side in our mind. It's really the mighty east side, and we're doing what we need to do to help raise the bar, to participate in the growth and future and long-range planning of Waxhaw, so that people from around the world who are moving here as a great community to live and raise a family, and North Carolina is present at this date, the 5th safest city in North Carolina. We also realize that the town has gone through a recent election, and there's new leadership under Mayor Steve Meyer. And he is actually doing a tremendous job in the assimilation of the board, the commissioners, where many of us not only can see the ship turning the corner, we really can feel the ship moving and turning the corner. And we just wanted to participate in this program, in this the Duncan McDonald House. We really want people to know that it is a home for the community. As Commissioner Fitzgerald has communicated that was his intent. So it's really not a house, it's really a home. And so if you're from the north, south, east, and west of Waxhaw, you ought to really come at this crossroads in history at this pace and time to take advantage of what you see in the home, check it out for meetings, and then look at the artifacts and the families who have their histories on record. You might be the very next one who might feel inspired to put your history or your family in the Duncan McDonald House. Thank you very much.
With pleasure, we would like to invite Ms. Angela Maresco to join us up front. Mayor Knopper for a special presentation.
Whereas the Town Board of the Town of Waxhaw, North Carolina desires to acknowledge and express appreciation to Dr. Harry Y. Gamble for his significant contributions to preserving Waxhaw's history and culture. And whereas Dr. Harry Y. Gamble brought the community together to celebrate Waxhaw history in drama and song by developing Waxhaw's Historical Festival and Drama Association, which gave birth to the outdoor drama Listen and Remember, written by Dare Steele, with original music composed by Eleanor Niven McLaughlin. And whereas Dr. Harry Y. Gamble preserved Waxhaw's history through his prolific writing to include historical documentation, poems, and genealogies. And whereas Dr. Harry Y. Gamble, having been ordained in the Old King Street Baptist Church of Waxhaw, moving on in his ministry, still contributed significantly to its culture by championing the town's centennial celebration. Now therefore be it resolved that the Town Board, in appreciation for his abundant contribution to the preservation of Waxhaw history, does declare tomorrow, June 19, 2016, as Dr. Harry Y. Gamble Day in the town of Waxhaw.
Greetings. Today is so ever special to me. My name is Gladys Elizabeth McCain Carr. I was actually born on Providence Street, corner of Brevard, moved over to King Street. My dad operated the Farmers Tinning and Trading Company. The current proprietors are Maxwell's Tavern. You cannot imagine how it thrills me to be able to go for a meal and relive all those happy moments of running up and down the aisles, growing up so that I could dust, that I could actually count the money, that I was allowed to make the bank deposit, which was only 2 doors down the street. And at Christmas and Easter and Thanksgiving, I was the window designer. My brother, just 2.5 years younger, helped Daddy quite a bit because Dad had live chickens in a house at the back of the store, and Robert, poor dear, had to catch the chicken, tie the legs, put him in a brown paper bag, punch a hole for his head, and deliver it to the home of the lady who had ordered a frying-sized chicken. We had a younger sister, Carol, who didn't really like to work at the store. She liked to dress up and make sure her hair was just right and her makeup was just right. But she and her friends, Patsy Gamble McGee, Lottie Nesbitt, June Plyler, got into a lot of little mischief when they were younger. Once upon a time, they climbed into the tower of the Methodist Church, where there were recordings of hymns at 12 o'clock every day. Those silly little girls put put a Ray Charles recording on that sound system. We like to think of all those fun things. We grew up only having family who loved us without condition, forgave us for every mishap, but said we always had to try to do the right thing and to do our best. So it was first family, parents, brothers and sisters, grandparents, but school, school was so important. And we heard mentioned today, our second grade teacher, Frankie Davis, she was when I was in her class, married Collins Thompson, who was child of a Methodist minister. But Frankie could do everything. She put on the best little plays and operettas, and she could dance. She taught us all to do the minuet, and when Dr. Harry Gamble initiated this outdoor drama listening, remember, it was Frankie who taught the Indian dances, the folk dances, and acted in the quilting scene, which was phenomenal. There are just so many people I'd love to mention that really influenced and made me who I am, who encouraged me, who told me, reach for the moon, and if you miss the moon, you might land in the stars, but you can do it. Just to hear somebody say you can do it. Our churches were so important, and there were 3, Baptist, Methodist, Presbyterian, and there weren't many of us, maybe 750 people as I was going into high school, 23 people in my graduating class whom I love dearly. I still remember every single teacher I had, every subject I took, but a really, really sad memory, which turned out to be all right. When I was in first grade, our school burned, and it was right after Christmas, and we lived right on the corner across from the school. So we had to go to churches, vacant buildings, we ate lunch at the women's club, but by the next fall we had a brand new school building. And being a small town, we had grades 1 through 12 in that same building. And what precious memories every time I drive by that school, which is across from our library, which we are also really pleased about. I've said to all these young folks who are moving into Waxhaw, and it pleases me that people choose us, because I feel so fortunate. I had nothing to do with who my parents were. My mother was a teacher, my dad a merchant. The fact I had a brother and a sister, that I grew up in this town, that I love with all my heart, and that every person I ever met, as Dr. Gamble said, was important. And I think if we love each other and are proud of our heritage and our history, and we have it written down thanks to Dr. Gamble, and of course there are other people who have written about us, I said to all the town officials as I meet them, don't change Main Street. Please keep Main Street. Preserve the bridge, keep the water tower intact, and now we have this wonderful McDonald house. And I do hope other projects will be considered, because there are other residencies that are quite worthy and important. But to have had a chance to grow up in Waxhaw, North Carolina, what a blessing. And thank you for the opportunity of being allowed to say, come see us. And if you do, you might just move in.
Miss Joyce Blythe, will you please come forward? Miss Joyce is going to tell us about Mr. J.L. Rodman. Mr. Rodman is being recognized today for his major role in the development of Waxhaw's economy.
John Lafayette Rodman Sr., born December 1850 and died June 1918. It's hard to know where to start when it comes to talking about Mr. Rodman and the huge mark he made in the first 30 years of Waxhaw's existence. You will hear much of what he accomplished in the resolution of appreciation soon to be read. Like the general store he and his lifelong friend E.J. Heath established in 1888, just as Waxhaw was about to be incorporated as a town. On September the 2nd, 1898, some 10 years later, the whistle blew for the first time at the Rodman Heath cotton mill that he built, along with E.J. Heath. In a letter to his mother dated 1897, he wrote, "I am now building our mill, and I have never been busier in my life." He would often speak of the mill as being his greatest accomplishment. He employed some 300 people and even built some 40 mill houses adjacent to the mill to help his workers have a place to live. He was a part of founding the Waxhaw Bank and Trust that it was located on South Main Street in 1906 and served as the president of it until his death. I would like to share just a little of his early history that helped mold him into the person he became. During the Civil War, his father joined the Confederate Army. In 1863, they received a letter stating that Mr. Rodman's father had been lost in a retreat from Chattanooga, Tennessee. Although Mr. Rodman was only 12, he took seriously the responsibility of taking his father's place. He also had a sister, age 14, and a younger brother who was 7. Times were extremely hard for many years to come. In 1877, he married Harriet Jane Wyatt. They had 8 children, 6, with 6 living to adulthood. In 1885, while visiting his brother in Richburg, South Carolina, he went to a sawmill where his leg was caught in the saw and had to be amputated above the knee. He went to Baltimore to have it treated and fitted with an artificial limb. This really did not slow him down at all, because while waiting for his leg to heal, he took a business course. It was after that he began building his monumental life in Waxhaw. At one time, he was considered the richest man in Union County. One of his dreams was to build a college in Waxhaw, but died before seeing that dream fulfilled. I'd like to see that dream fulfilled too. I'm sure a lot will. Following his death, a tribute to Mr. Rodman in the Waxhaw Enterprise, we have a newspaper, the Waxhaw Enterprise, was of July the 3rd, 1918, read as follows: "Every citizen in Waxhaw felt that he had lost a friend. Mr. Rodman was preeminently Waxhaw's first citizen. Here he lived for the most active years of his life. Here he built, in large measure, the town. He was noted for 4 fields of endeavor. He was one of the biggest landowners and farmers in this section of the county. He was a successful merchant. As a banker, he was safe and conservative, and as a manufacturer, he enjoyed an envied reputation for quality of goods made." The end quote. Early in life, he decided that a motto would guide his life: truth, honesty, and effort. At the Waxhaw Cemetery, this is inscribed on his footstone: truth, honesty, and effort. It's worth going over there to look for. A great deal of this information on Mr. Rodman came from the life and times of the Rodman family in Waxhaw, as so eloquently written by his great-granddaughter, Harriet Walcott Miles. It is hoped that the cotton room here, we have a room here that we're calling the cotton room, and of course it relates to cotton, and cotton was king for so many years when this house was standing, and it is hoped that this room, the cotton room, will always pay tribute to Mr. John Lafayette Rodman Sr.
Hello, I'm Jim, and this is Llewellyn Warner. We've lived in Waxhaw since 1984. I'm currently serving as one of the town commissioners. When we started this project, probably at the beginning of my term in 2013, it was questionable, but today's made it all worth it. It's a place for everybody to meet together and see that we do have a town and we have an historic character.
It's exciting to have this history in our town, so we'll be able to share with our children and our grandchildren and all the people that come after us will see the history of Waxhaw and what it means to us today.
We would like to ask Mr. Roy Miles to come forward for a special presentation.
Again, it's my privilege to issue the following resolution of appreciation. Whereas the Town Board of the Town of Waxhaw, North Carolina desires to acknowledge and express appreciation to J.L. Rodman for his dominant role as a business figure in the first 30 years of Waxhaw's existence. And whereas J.L. Rodman led the establishment of the store known as Rodman and Heath General Merchandise Cotton Buyers and Bankers, followed by the Rodman Heath Cotton Mill and numerous other enterprises in and around Waxhaw during its formative economic years. And whereas J.L. Rodman was instrumental in the founding of the Waxhaw Bank and Trust Company, becoming its first president. And whereas J.L. Rodman served his community until his very last breath, helping to sell war savings stamps for World War I. Now therefore be it resolved that the Town Board, in appreciation for J.L. Rodman's entrepreneurial spirit and work which stimulated Waxhaw's economic growth and agricultural stability, declare Monday, June 20th, 2016 as J.L. Rodman Day in the town of Waxhaw.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Miles is J.L. Rodman's great-grandson.
Good morning, folks. My name is Rita Brunson, and although I haven't lived here all my life, I feel like Waxhaw is my home. I live just a couple blocks from this old house today. Some years back, my husband had an antique shop in this building, back when antiques were the big thing in Waxhaw. And he would sit on the front porch and cane chair bottoms for the neighbors and for anybody who could find out about him. He had retired from GE and needed a hobby, and so he taught himself how to cane chair bottoms. And during those days, this house, or what was this house at that time, had running water, a toilet that would flush, and that was about it. No heat, no air conditioning, but it still was a place where neighbors would gather on the porch just to sit around and talk. It's always been, Waxhaw's that kind of town. But during those days, you could, all the boards inside and outside the house were actually hand sewn. And you could run your hands across them and feel the dips where they would go through hand by hand on the old sawmills. And it served a lot of people over its years. It was used for a number of different activities. There were several different kinds of shops. And then as it got more and more run down, it became a place where the vagrants would come and sleep. And so I'm very happy to see this nice old house come back to life. It's meant a lot to me and my family. Thank you.
Thank you, Natalie. Hello, everyone. This is an exciting day for the community, and I'm honored to have had a part in the rehabilitation of the Duncan McDonald House. You've heard so much already about the importance of this house for the Waxhaw community. The many stories and the lives touched are really inspiring for me to hear about, and I'm honored to be able to be a part of this event. I just wanted to provide some additional perspective from where I sit in my role managing the Main Street program for the town of Waxhaw. All right. The Main Street program is a downtown economic development and revitalization program is supported by the National Trust for Historic Preservation, and it's administered by the North Carolina Department of Commerce. It's been around for almost 40 years, and Waxhaw is just one of over 60 communities actually in North Carolina who is recognized as a Main Street community. It's about saving downtowns by preserving their unique character, and that's what Waxhaw has committed to doing. One way that the town has demonstrated its commitment to downtown is by signing on as a full Main Street community last year and dedicating staff and volunteers to work in the interest of downtown. Main Street is an economic development program, but that economic development is done in the context of historic preservation, because historic preservation is what really gives the downtowns in our state their strength. Don Ripcom, a prominent thinker in the historic preservation field, says it really well. He says, if we want to attract capital, to attract investment into our communities, we must differentiate them from anywhere else. It is our built environment in general, and our historic buildings in particular, that express our diversity, our identity, our individuality, and our differentiation. So the Duncan McDonald House is a key part of this. It's a vital piece of our downtown that makes it stronger, and by extension, it makes our community stronger. So thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Holly Stewart. My husband and I own Stewart's Village Gallery, which is right across the street from the Duncan McDonald House. And we've been here 23 years and have always admired the house for its character. It's been quite a transition. I know when we first moved here, we had, I think it was used by the church as a donation center for clothing for underprivileged individuals. So we used to come in on a Monday morning and there'd be trash bags of clothing piled to the ceiling on the front porch. And so then that went on for several years, and then it just sort of wasn't anything for a while. And then I know Pete Brunson, Elizabeth Brunson's father, rented it out and used to do chair caning in here, and he had dabbling in antiques, mostly chairs and small things, refinishing, and he was a wonderful person and sweet to my two daughters. They used to have a lot of fun over here playing fiddles and things like that. And then again it became quiet, and then the town bought it, and I know that there's been some controversy about the expense. But you know, people want to hang on to the things that are old, and it's important to do it properly when you're going to do it. So I really give the town big kudos for investing in this bit of history.
Hi, my name is Daly Burrell, and we've lived in Waxhaw for 6 wonderful years. Our kids all went to school up in Charlotte. That brought us down here, and we were so lucky to find Waxhaw. Today has been a wonderful day. We've learned more about the history of Waxhaw and the wonderful people that started Waxhaw. So I liked the fact that they suggested and hope that it continues to be nice. We are all one family, north, south, east, and west. Thank you. Okay.
I'm Edna Jackson. My son is Todd Jackson of Waxhaw. He married Jennifer Haynes. John and Jeanette Haynes is Jennifer's mother, and she was the mayor of Waxhaw in the 90s. I'm very proud of them. My son and Jennifer have 3 children, and they also live here in Waxhaw. They brought me here to Waxhaw. I built a house in 1999 in Magnolia Ridge, and I'm a widow, and I love it here in Waxhaw. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Paul Fitzgerald. I'm Town Commissioner of Waxhaw. We just had the grand opening of the Duncan McDonald House that I pushed for about 2.5 years. I even got drawn in the time period between when I was elected and when I was sworn in. Joyce Place came to me and says, there's something, a cult on the Duncan McDonald house. They want to tear it down. And I said, oh no, we can't have that happen. So Joyce was exiting out of office and I was coming into office. And she could see the passion in my eyes, the way I love history. And she told me her vision and what her idea of this house could be and what it meant to the town. And that's why I really went on this dedication to the town, to preserve this piece of history forever, I think. It will live past my great-grandchildren's time, the way we reconstructed this house. It's a significant place. It's going to be a cultural center for many years to come. I love Waxhaw, and I am kind of at the end of my mission now. And it was like having that child go off to college. You're proud, but you're sorry to see it go. The time has been well spent. It's been a loving thing for me to do. I've met a lot of new people. I worked with a lot of new friends. I found how the seniors and other people that lived in Waxhaw for many years have cherished this property. It was like when it started, I said it was one of the most cherished sites, but it looks like an eyesore. It was a black eye on Waxhaw, and now I think we got it to where it needs to be. It's the shining star it should be. So, thank you for letting me speak to you, and God bless.